2 weeks ago, Clemson celebrated a commitment for the football team, now a decommitment.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone. Morgan Thomas here, and welcome to Locked On Clemson, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. On today's show, we're going to discuss Seth Williams decommitting from Clemson just a few weeks after committing and what that says about the current recruiting process, and the latest on President Trump's executive order and how it could affect college sports. But let's get this show underway with segment 1 around Seth Williams. Atlanta safety Seth Williams committed to Clemson recently, but just 2 weeks later, he has now decommitted and is reopening his recruitment. And I know a lot of you are saying, what, who, how? And probably your first reaction is like mine. Who is this guy? Why does it matter? And why is Clemson losing 3 stars? And this is just the world of college football. And a lot of those things and feelings or gut reactions are very true as well. In his own words, he came out and said that he, quote, rushed it. And he said that visits are important and that he needs to take more of them before making his final decisions. Things happened too fast for him, and he wanted to slow back down and go through the recruiting process properly. Now, based on that reaction and that explanation, everything makes a little bit more sense to me, because if it was my son, I wouldn't want him to rush his recruiting. If he was good at a sport and my daughter is good at a sport, whatever it may be, I want them to go visit other schools. Just like my friends are taking their daughters and sons to visit their schools, you're going to go to multiple ones and get the full idea. You know, I wish that we would do that about more things than just colleges. I wish we would do that about work. You know, how many times do you start a job and you're like, man, I thought this job was going to be amazing from the interview, and this is not what I was expecting. And same things can happen for school as well. And so you want to make sure that you are in the right place and you don't rush those things. So to me, it makes a lot of sense. I believe visits are very important. I do believe that he needs to take as many visits as he can in order to have the full picture of what each school brings to the table. I mean, maybe Clemson doesn't have what he's looking for. Maybe somewhere else does. Maybe it's not just all about money. In this case, I don't think it is. I think things did just kind of commit too quickly, and he wants to take a step back. Now, he said that he still has Clemson in his top group and that he still plans on officially visiting when he later on and in May, at the end of May on the 29th. So he's already planning the future to come back to Clemson. So things are still lining up that Clemson is still heavily in the mix. Now, we were told as well that he is possibly going to Georgia Tech. He's going to go see Florida. And there are some other schools that are trying to get into the mix as well, like Penn State, Syracuse, Wisconsin, Florida State, Georgia, West Virginia. He has official visits scheduled for Vanderbilt and Penn State in June as well. So Clemson is in the mix, but there are a lot of other teams, as you can tell, that are looking to see what they can get from the Lakeside High School guy. Clemson has a long-standing policy as well. Many of you may know, not all the everydayers, I'm sure know, but under Dabo Swinney, if a commitment is a commitment, and it still holds true to the word that you are committed to one place. You're committed and going to stick to your word. You're not going to commit to Clemson and then go visit other places. When you are committed at Clemson under Dabo Swinney, it means that your visit shut down. And I believe that rule or policy played a big role into the reason why he wanted to decommit, or he needed to decommit. He couldn't go and do these visits unless he was going to decommit. And he realized later on that he just wasn't ready to close off his recruiting that quickly. And about Dabo Swinney's policy, I'm not upset with it. I have understood it for years, and I actually like it. I think everybody should fall under that. If you are committed to someplace, then you should stay there. Because the coaching staff has to allocate the available roster spots that they have to other players. And, when you're committed, you're saying, hey, you don't have to go after me as hard anymore. Spend your resources, spend your time on other players. I'm coming. And so it frees up that team if you actually want to be a benefit to that team. But it can be a blessing and a curse as well, because if you believe that player and they hang on for too long, then you run out of opportunities later on and could be ended up what they say, putting your eggs in all in one basket. As a realist for you, because you want my honest opinion, you want me to not give you that coach speak, that Clemson sponsored speech, if you will. Recruiting does move extremely fast in this new era of college football. And I do believe that sometimes young men, sometimes kids commit way too early, way before they're ready. They get hyped up into the atmosphere that they see and all the good feelings that they get, and they make an unnecessary commitment too early. And this isn't, to me, in this situation, a panic moment, but more of, hey, this young man wanted to go and actually go through the full process. And it's a reminder too, though, that a lot of things aren't locked in until you get them signed. And even in this day and age, not even if they have a signature on a piece of paper, does that even really matter? It highlights, just how volatile the recruiting world is. And to be honest with you, if you listen to me back maybe 5 years ago when I was just doing the Morgan Thomas show, I did a lot of recruiting. That was one of the things that got me on the radio and got me with Mickey Plyler, was my interest in recruiting. But over the past maybe 3 or 4 years, especially since NIL, my love for recruiting is gone almost entirely. That's why you're not going to hear a lot of or see a lot of podcasts from me about recruiting, because of events like this, events like where you get in yourself in a situation where, I could spend a lot of time talking about a player and then they never end up coming to Clemson. There were plenty of times where I did that, and, it felt like wasted effort. Dalen Everett, Jihad Campbell, those two guys, I spent a lot of time doing videos on them. They never ended up coming to Clemson after Brent Venables left. Ended up being great players, don't get me wrong, but a lot of effort, and they didn't even end up playing at Clemson. The situation is a good example as well of that prospects have a lot of power. They have a lot of options. They have a lot more information, and they have way more power than I believe they did in the past. Clemson has to continue to navigate the reality that landing players is going to be different. It's always been difficult, but it's going to be different. Now, can Clemson afford to lose Seth Williams overall? When you look at their recruiting board right now, they have 8 players that they've offered at the safety position, according to On3. When you look at that, he is the lowest on the list as far as their On3 rankings. He's 809th overall in the nation as a football player. He's 89th as a safety and 90th as a player in the state of Georgia. So you would have to believe that Clemson is okay with this, going to allow him to make his options or find his options. But you'd also have to believe that Clemson is looking for a higher rated candidate player, to be able to kind of replenish what they have at safety and to be able to build on what they have at safety. Fighting over him, to me, let him go do his thing. Let him get his recruits in. If he does actually truly want to be at Clemson, that's all great. Bring him back in. But to me, I'm not going to be losing sleep over something like this. Honestly, I'm not going to lose sleep over any 17-year-old or 16-year-old kid. If they come to Clemson, great. but it's the nature of college football. Unfortunately, though, those guys on the top of the list, a lot of those guys are going to be demanding, because of the market, demanding a lot more money in order to even play for your university. So while you may have a guy who's a lower ranked guy who just wants to play for Clemson, that's great. But then you may have a higher ranked guy that would play for Clemson for the right price. And that is another reality of the world of college football. All right, segment 2, we're going to come back. We're going to talk about President Trump and his executive order, what he wants to see changed in college football, and what we think actually will be changed in college football right here on Locked On Clemson. The NBA playoffs are here, where every possession matters and every matchup is magnified and every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. And here's what I love about FanDuel. When you bet just $5 and you can get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. And you know, I've told you many times about the app and how easy it is, and the payout. You can get paid out quickly so that you can keep the momentum going and keep playing and having fun. It just makes the entire playoff experience and all of sports more engaging from start to finish. Head over to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. Let me tell you about the Everydayer Club. You can get ad-free episodes of Locked On Clemson with the Everydayer Club, plus a members-only Discord access. All you have to do is join at lockedonclemson.supercast.com. Again, lockedonclemson.supercast.com. Let me tell you, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Everydayers in the Everydayer Club that are chatting 24/7. I went in there last night, man. It's a ton of people talking about college basketball, a ton of people talking about football and baseball as well. You can get in there, not only talk to me, not only talk to other Clemson fans, but all fans across the country. You will love it for sure. I'm going to leave the banner up for those of you watching on video. And if you're listening, you can go check it out. The link is in the description as well. Last Friday, President Trump issued a 10-page executive order directing the NCAA to make several changes to college sports. The articles that came out talked about how there were specific things that he was looking to change and make it better for the athlete and for the fan as well, and for the universities involved as well. And there are a few big things that I pulled that I wanted to talk about here with you and give you my honest opinion on. One is the 5-year eligibility standard. The NCAA really honestly is already moving on with this and getting ready to implement this and having an age-based rule. I completely agree with this. I don't want to see really old guys just sitting there 7, 8, 9 years into college football because they've gotten waivers on waivers on waivers, or they've had medical issues. Now, if you have medical issues, I understand, but 5 years is enough for you to be eligible to play college football. And sometimes some things happen, but to be honest with you, college football is for college athletes and not for grown men who still haven't been able to get into the NFL, or maybe who are good enough to stay at college football level and just milk boosters and revenue share. So to me, I like the 5-year rule. Make it standard. There needs to be more standardization, and that's what this is all about. Another one that I'm sure Dabo Swinney would love is that allowing one transfer with immediate eligibility during that 5-year period, plus if you want to transfer a second time, you do that after you earn a degree at the school that you went to, still adding in that student athlete part of the requirement. So I love that. Hey, you want to be able to transfer again? Okay, well, you can, but you need to get a degree from Clemson University before you get to do it again. Now, I'm still not a fan of the one-time freebie. I don't like that because it still is basically going to poach all the young guys, and all the older guys are going to be stuck until they get a 4-year degree. But a lot of times, these 4-year degrees are complete phonies. You know, they're getting 4-year degrees and 3-year degrees in 3 years. They're getting 4-year degrees in 3 years. And then these 4-year degrees in 3 years are like, a bunch of multiple choice questions with a lot of help from tutors. It's not actually learning anything. It's not actually being involved, and it's all online. So you don't even know who's actually taking the test. So to me, the degree has to mean something. It can't just be underwater basket weaving online with a tutor and only multiple choice questions and just showing up and maybe even turning in it or chatting on a message board. That's not a real degree from Clemson University. That's what a lot of these online schools do. Then they're a bunch of phony degrees that get you nowhere in life. So allowing a 1-year transfer eligibility, to me, I'd rather not have that. I'd rather have, you have to stay where you're at and you have to sit out a year. I like Dabo Swinney's idea of just sitting out a year, so you have to go back to that where you just can't play. So that would just eliminate the poaching altogether. Because if you have a 1-year freebie, then they're still going to have a lot of people who are just getting poached and getting tampered with. And then again, you have that second year free, or that second transfer free allowed after a degree. Well, a lot of these schools have bogus degrees. So to me, I'm not really liking that one, but I understand the nature of it. They're trying to stop someone from transferring a ton, right? And they're also trying to stop someone from having eligibility for 5 or 6 years, right? So the other one that I had listed down was the transfer window, when they're going to actually put it to make it where it doesn't interfere with the academic year. A lot of people are saying shift it to the spring. I don't think you should be transferring in December during the playoffs, during the bowl season. There's still going to be a lot of people opting out, and that's makes sense. But to me, I don't think you should transfer until well after the season is over with. So late spring, mid-spring, that's perfectly fine with me. All throughout the summer, there should be a cutoff time for sure, but maybe you go until June 1st or May 29th or whatever. And then, then allow the new recruits to come in. I like that idea. But, to me, it's always been ridiculous that they even allowed it in December anyways, The next one that I had listed on there was revenue sharing and protections for that so that it can preserve other sports. This kind of contradicts my previous show where I said I'd rather go bankrupt saving football. And maybe that's why they're trying to stop this idea and get rid of that idea, because I admitted that in the previous show that was detrimental to all the other sports. And that while I love watching gymnastics and watching volleyball and watching women's basketball and watching men's basketball and baseball and softball and all those things, I would rather go bankrupt saving football. Now, that would be possible right now, but it might not be possible if they implement this protection for the other sports. Maybe you shouldn't be allowed to put 100% of your revenue share into just one sport, even if that one sport is the one that is bringing in all the revenue. I can understand that, because you don't want everything to be just about one sport. College needs to be more well-rounded and more available for all types of athletes, whether or not they're that high on the revenue generation portion of it. Football can give back. Just like we want to give back to the community as individuals, football should be able to give back to the rest of the university and improve the university as a whole, not just self-serving. So if that's the case, then yeah, I would like to see, I would like to see a percentage spread out amongst the other sports to get everyone a little bit of a piece of the pie in that case. But here's my thing. It has to be implemented across the board, and it has to be enforced. How many times are we going to think that other teams are going to go out there and just say, you know what, we're going to allocate some money to other sports, but we're not really going to do it. We're going to kind of say it on paper, but not actually do it. That's going to be a big problem. Another one that I circled was, limiting NIL funds to avoid pay for play. For me, I completely get that. And I want them to be a part of a registry system, as they're mentioning, that makes it. And I would love to know publicly what players are getting paid. These are most of these are public universities, and I know they're private donations, but not the revenue share, really. So I'd like to know what they're actually getting paid, because when there's more transparency, there'll be a better market, and possibly the market could go down instead of being so inflated. Right now, there's a lot of guys making a lot of money because there's a secret market going on, and the agents are just playing all the teams off of each other, trying to get the most money for their player. And that's what an agent's supposed to do, but it is inflating a lot of players based on their value to the market. And I'd like to see more transparency around there and what they're actually getting. And I'd like to get rid of any sort of private donations and investments in that way. If you're going to want to give to the university, then buy tickets, then attend the events, donate through the university directly, and then make it all, listed out there publicly and not anything private. That's what I would do. More transparency, the better, for sure. Let me know what you think in the comments. We'll stop here. We'll take a break and we'll go to segment 3, the Everydayers Only segment, and wrap it all up right here on Locked On Clemson.
I'm Clea Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. UCLA made history by winning its first NCAA Women's Basketball National Championship, dominating South Carolina 79-51. The Bruins controlled the game from start to finish with elite defense and balanced scoring, finishing the season 37-1. Star center Lauren Betts was named Most Outstanding Player, leading a team effort that capped a 31-game winning streak. Under head coach Corey Close, UCLA secured a landmark title that has been decades in the making. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes. I'm coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment. Putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
All right, welcome back in. Segment 3, the Everydayer Only segment of Locked On Clemson. It's a joke, really. I joke because if you're not an everydayer, and you're around for segment 3, technically you are an everydayer. So if you haven't already, hit that like, hit that subscribe so you never miss another episode. Most of the casuals, they stick around for 2 segments. The everydayers stick around for 3 segments. So thank you for sticking with me. Let's wrap it all up here in segment 3, kind of looking at overall the nature of Clemson football and recruiting as a whole. Right now, Clemson has a few commits, but the board doesn't look that great. Obviously, the star of the board right now is Kareem Hughley, the quarterback that a lot of people are looking forward to seeing nationally. 22nd best player in the state of Georgia, 17th best quarterback in the country, 192nd overall nationally as far as overall player. Bryce Kish, you have there as well. He's in there. He is 7th in the state at a linebacker. At Michigan, he is 25th overall at linebacker and 302nd overall nationally. After that, you have hometown guy Trey Wembley from D.W. Daniel in Central. He's 351th nationally, 8th best player in the state, and 46th best player at the wide receiver position. And then after that, some familiar names that if you didn't know those 3, some familiar names of Max Brown, Sammy Brown's brother from Jefferson, Georgia. He's 58th best in the state at linebacker. Harrison Luke, safety, Matt Luke's son. He's 65th best in the state of Georgia, and he's a safety, 3-star. Both those guys 3 stars, and then Christian Chancellor Jr., D.W. Daniel guy. He is a legacy. His dad played Chancellor, played cornerback at Clemson. He's going to play cornerback as well. He's 14th best in the state of South Carolina, best player, and 709th overall. So right now you've got 6 total commitments Clemson overall dropped a little bit. They went from 21st overall, according to the national rank, to 23rd overall. So they've dropped a little bit. And it's not how it used to be when it comes to Clemson recruiting. It's hard to kind of deal with. Clemson previously in the ACC was 4th last year in ranking. In the ACC right now, they're 5th in ranking. That is not something that Clemson fans are used to. And it's been something that's getting harder and harder for this staff to figure out. Not only are they still using their traditional approach of shutting down commitments shutting down visits once a kid commits, they are also, being kind of very reluctant to pay a lot of money for these unproven players. And I can understand, but it does feel like Clemson is very frugal with how they are trying to acquire players, and they're not going after it very aggressively. Now they're trying to get players that want to be there, and that makes a lot of sense. But, the program has a chance to try to figure this out and be seen as a player on a national level. Now, some of these executive orders that are coming through is going to certainly help Clemson improve when it comes to transfer portal, Clemson improve when it comes to NIL and revenue sharing and just overall enforcement together. For Clemson, this kind of stuff matters because they're trying to navigate it really on a day-to-day basis. I mean, if it's not a recruiting battle, then it's a transfer portal battle. And if it's not those battles, then you're battling with your own fan base on how much they're willing to donate and give based on what the product you've been seeing on the field. And a 7-6 season, especially with the frustrations over the past couple of years, the donations, I'm sure, are making it or becoming a little bit more difficult. We need to be realistic about where Clemson is. Recruiting is much faster, much more competitive. The financial side of college sports cannot be ignored. And honestly, it's not any more easy to understand. It is much more complicated than ever. Clemson has a strong brand. We believe in Dabo Swinney as a coach, but they have to find ways to compete in this new landscape to be able to keep not only attracting better players, but retaining those better players across not only football, but basketball and baseball and everything else. So let me know what you think in the comments. If you are frustrated, if you're excited, do you see a light at the end of the tunnel or not? For me, I believe Clemson is just trying to survive. It doesn't feel to me as if Clemson is trying to thrive in this world of college football. And maybe it's possible that the donations are just not there. And that's why I'd like to get rid of them altogether. Because if we continue down this world of pay for play, then the smaller market, smaller alumni schools are not going to be successful. It's just point blank. It's just not going to happen. It's going to be much, much more difficult for teams to be able to thrive, especially as I've mentioned in previous shows, when you have to compete against you're not just competing against 15 teams in your conference. You're not just competing against 63 teams in the Power 5 or Power 4. You're competing against 130 something teams across the board, because if one team's not trying to poach a player, another team will. And it could be from any conference across the country. So you are really fighting a war against everybody. And the competition, to me, is very difficult with the limited amount of rules and regulations that they have. The rich get richer and are going to continue to get richer, and it's going to continue to hurt schools like Clemson who are trying to compete in this atmosphere. All right. Hey, thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day, and make sure you subscribe and follow so you get all the latest episodes. If you never miss an episode, well, check out the Everydayer Club. It's built for you. Locked On Clemson, ad-free, plus members-only Discord access. Head over to lockedonclemson.supercast.com to join. For those of you on video, we have that 24/7 Locked On podcast channel. I'm going to send you over there. And for those of you on audio, I can't send you anywhere. So check out Locked On College Basketball as your second listen. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see you at the top of the hill.